Okay, this is Paul Roebuck again. We're continuing on our webinar concerning red flag property inspection. Try to give you a few red flags that we might see as we go around and inspect his houses. But here's my email address for you. If you haven't watched all parts of our 6-part webinar, I invite you to go in and view those. They'll be on InterNACHI's website. And send me your questions or comments. If you have a topic you want us to talk about, send it to us also. We'll see if we can't work something out for you. Today we're going to go over roof, window, and flashing detail leaks. These are biggies. Flashing detail is one of the largest things in the building codes that come up for code certified inspectors look at during construction. Not just home inspectors or code inspectors, but for builders and for the city municipals inspectors. WRB, if you don't know what WRB stands for, that's weather resistant barrier. This is a material that goes behind whatever the exterior cladding is. If it's brick, stone, wood, hardy, LP siding, it doesn't matter. You have to have some type of a WRB behind that, and the flashing details have to be there. These have to work hand in hand together because they've become very vital. They are what keeps water out of a home. So that's our goal, is to prevent water intrusion into a home, which, as you know, as an inspector, causes all kinds of problems and issues. So here we go. Okay. Leaking roof is a major problem. It's often very expensive to repair, especially if the roof needs to be completely replaced. Now, in looking at a home, if you walk up to a house and you see those shingles, composition shingles are real wavy looking, you might want to look inside the attic space and look up and see if you see a wood shingle roof underneath all that. If so, then that's a major issue and should be a red flag for you, because what that means is that they put a composition roof on top of a wood shingle roof or wood shake roof. Both of those are an improper installation. Building codes do not allow for that today. And also, one of the biggest things as inspectors, if we see a composition roof installed over a wood shingle roof, that should be a red flag and something that you need to stop and go tell your client, look, we have a composition roof installed over a wood shingle roof, and this is why it's an issue. Go and call your insurance agent, whomever you're going to have your homeowner's insurance with, and see if they will provide insurance coverage for this property. 99% of the time, the insurance company will not cover that. So they will not insure that home. That's a biggie. It keeps a person from buying a home that they can't get insured. They'll find it out later, but you need to point it out to them because you're their expert. You're out to one looking at it. Why would the insurance companies not want to cover the insurance on that home? Well, think about it. You got a wood shingle roof. It's covered over. The wood shingles are dry. The least little spark, it's like lighter material. It ignites that wood shingle roof, and then a house fire develops, and it's a massive fire. So that's why they won't do it. The second reason is because when the composition roof fails, when the composition roof shingle is installed over a wood roof, it lasts about half the time that it's supposed to last, according to the manufacturers. So by seeing that, there's two things. One, they can't get insurance. One, the roof will only last about half the time it should. And when they go to replace it, point three is it costs them double the amount of money to have that roof replaced, because they have to strip off those layers of shingles, layers of wood shingles. Then they have to put a plywood type decking material on top of it before they can re-roof it. So your cost just went up big time, multiple dollars. So is it important that you tell a client that? Yeah, absolutely. That's your job. They will love you for it. The sellers may hate you, but the people buying a home is going to love you for it. So be careful when you do that. Besides that, you don't want to be the person to get the call back afterwards. Man, I bought this house. You didn't tell me it had wood shake or wood shingles underneath the composition roof. Now my roof needs to be replaced, and I want you to fix it for me because you didn't tell me. Don't get caught in that. Report what you see, guys, and it'll keep you out of trouble. If there's any signs of roof leakage, then a general contractor or a roofing contractor should be called to do a further evaluation on the roof itself. The most common signs of past leakage is wood, ceiling, or wall stains. But where does all that begin? Well, that's something we can talk about. But if the roof has been patched or repaired, you need to let the client know, hey, look, there's been some roof repairs on it. If it's got the poop de dupe, we call it, the tar product, or flex seal as seen on TV, repairs jobs done on some of the flashing details around the plumbing vent pipes. You need to note that to them because that's roof failures. Those need to be properly repaired. So, just keep an eye out for those kind of things, and don't try to sugarcoat everything. Sometimes, not just sometimes, all the time, our job is just to report what we see. You don't have to tell them, hey, look, it's got this stuff on it. Just tell them it's an improper repair and recommend a roof for someone else come out professional to further evaluate it. And we talked about the window flashing details. I put this in here because it'll show you some. If we let me slow down for a minute. If we're in the framing stage of a house and we go out and we have done some infill training with our videographer, AJ, and a couple of professional inspectors and manufacturers in Texas, and those videos will be coming out soon online. You'll be wanting to see those because they are awesome. I mean, they are some of the best video information that I think you'll ever see. Not excluding this one, of course, but self-adhesive flashing. During the framing stage, before the windows are installed, this type of flashing detail has to be installed. You see how they've done it several different areas here, different ways, but they make a manufacturer's flashing that fits into the opening and it overlaps the inside, goes up the wall a bit, laps on the outside, and then they come around, they'll put the tape around the outside of these windows and seal it. But that makes a very good flashing. But there's some that you can form, make it fit the window. These are self-adhesive that they come in, they stick, but it covers that entire bottom seal of the framing up the wall section and wrap it on the outside, and then we'll correct the rest of it as we put the seal around the outside of the windows. So during the framing stage, this is something you should see in all window openings. Okay, window flashing leakage in a home constitutes a serious problem, can cause significant damage if it's not detected. A leaking window flashing is a major problem, often becomes very expensive to repair. The most common signs of past or present water intrusions are wet stains areas, wet areas around the walls, baseboard, doors, windows, damaged wood, damaged ceilings, or even wall sections. And, it depends on where the stains are at as to what may have caused that. But sometimes in a ceiling, let's say that you see a water stain, if it's a two-story house, it could be an upstairs bathroom over that area, close to that area. It could be a plumbing pipe ran in the ceiling space that could cause that. The old galvanized water pipes are prone to leak during freezing. So if you got freezing temperatures and pipes haven't been correctly replaced or insulated, then they could cause water leaks. So those issues, if they go on long enough, it causes major problems. If there's any signs of water intrusions, then a general contractor and maybe even a mold specialist should be consulted to do further evaluation. We all know what mold looks like. Some states, like in Texas, we're not supposed to tell them that it's mold if we see it. You can tell them it appears to be a mold substance or something. Recommend further evaluation. But in other parts of the country, you can use the word mold, I'm sure, without any problem. Texas, we have some really different rules and regulations than what some states do. So, I mean, depending on what your area is, if you spot something that looks like mold, your clients are going to know what mold is just as well as you do. So, just be cautious with how you say it, but you definitely want to tell them that there's moisture. Mold produces tiny spores to reproduce. Mold spores enter through the indoor and outside air continuously. So the mold is all around us. It's not only on the inside of a house if there's mold spores, but it's also on the outside. I mean, the mold people can check inside, outside, and compare the difference mold spores that are there. But mold spores seem to land on these damp spots indoor. They may begin growing and digesting whatever they land on to survive. Molds can grow on wood, paper, carpet, back into the carpet, and even more food products. When excessive moisture, water accumulates indoors, mold growth will often occur, particularly if the moisture problem retains or remains undiscovered and unaddressed. Sometimes people cover up stuff. If they're selling a house, they will go to all types of extremes to hide moisture and mold because they don't want to pay for someone to come in and do the corrections on it, because at times it can get quite costly. Mold, there's really no practical way to eliminate all mold spores in the indoor environment. The way to control indoor mold growth is to control moisture. Stop the water, stop the leakage. You need to remember, though, the key to mold control is moisture control. Stop the water leakage, you'll stop the mold inside. Many areas are prone for mold growth, generally caused from water intrusion or even a plumbing leak. Many times, if shower leaks in the wall or the bathtub drain leaks, if you open the trap area, the access to get into those sections, then you'll see that there's intrusions of water and the mold begin to develop. If it's not treated or taken care of, it becomes a very big issue. Kitchen cabinets, one I've seen time and time again in my inspections. You open the kitchen cabinet doors, look underneath the sink. It had a mold smell, nearly knock you out because it's so strong, because there was a water leak. And guess what? Nobody took care of the problem. So it continued to grow until it begins to develop into mold. But, if you spot something like that, it's not just going to be underneath the sink that you see it. The water will go underneath the bottom cabinet section, the board on the bottom of the cabinets. It gets underneath there, and then it begins to spread in areas that you don't see, but yet it's magnifying and getting worse and worse as the days go by without being treated. So again, the key to mold control is to control the moisture. Okay, we're going to flip over a little bit of stairs and handrails and guardrails now and go over some of this. But the codes tell us that the handrail should be provided on at least one side of each continuous run of threads or flights with 4 or more steps. So if you got 4 more steps going up a flight of stairs or steps, 4 more, you have to have a handrail. That's inside or outside, doesn't matter. The handrail height shall not be less than 34 feet from the floor and not more than 38 inches from the floor. So 34 inches, I think I said feet, I'm sorry. 34 inches from the floor and not more than 38. That's what most people, children, short adults, tall adults, most people can reach those. Porches, balconies, or raised floor sections located more than 30 inches above the floor or above the ground shall also have guards of not less than 36 inches in height. Now, if you walk up there and your average guy, let's say you're 6 foot tall, and the guardrail or rails around the porch or balcony section comes up to your knees, then that's an issue, because of most people, someone could trip, fall, someone could be shoved, fall right over it. So that's why the guardrails have to be 36 inches in height. But if you have a porch or decks that are enclosed with insect screens, which a lot of areas have insects. I know down in our southern part of the world, we have mosquitoes that big enough to take your car away almost. If they have insect screens covering the porch, then it has to be provided with guards where the walk-in surface is located more than 30 inches above the floor, or the grade outside more than 30 inches. So you have to have something like that to prevent someone from falling, causing injury. So don't miss those things. Many times we see people put a set of steps up to a balcony, or not a balcony, but to a porch that they've added onto a place. And they forget to put guardrails. They forget to put handrails on the stairs. Well, everybody's not as balanced as you are in your younger years. A lot of times we could take a fall and not hurt us. As you get up in age, some people have handicap capabilities, or that can cause them to trip or miss a step and cause them to fall. But handrails are very important. So pay attention to these and keep in mind what these requirements all are. Required guardrails on open sides of stairways, raised floor areas, balconies, porches shall all have an intermediate rail or ornamental closure that do not allow passage of the spear 4 inches or more in diameter. A lot of times the code will take a 4-inch round circular piece of styrofoam and they'll use it to measure to make sure nothing any larger than that will pass through the opening. The reason behind this 4-inch separation requirement is to protect small children, even small pets that can slip through these openings and fall and get hurt or injure themselves, or even worse, depending on if it's on a balcony or elevated part of a second floor or third floor of a house. So the 4-inch rule is a biggie. I mean, you can take a tape measure and measure 4 inches, and you'll be pretty safe on measuring that. But 4 inches, anything larger than that, if it passed through the openings of the stair rail balconies or the balusters, then that's something that should be written up. That's a red flag for you. Older construction, probably built before, I'd say before the 1990s, didn't have that same requirement. So some of them I would almost fit through. The space was gapped so far. And there's a lot of ways that people can correct those. But again, as a home inspector, it's not our job to try and correct it, to tell them how to correct it or what to do about it. So it's our job to point out, hey, this could be a safety issue. We want to make you aware of it. Handrail ends today shall be returned and shall terminate in newel post or safety terminals. Handrails adjacent to a wall shall have a space of not less than 1.5 inches between a wall and a handrail. This means where you put your hand around, you want to be able to get a full grip on that handrail. So that gives you enough room for your knuckles of your fist to bend and wrap around the handrail and hold on to it. The end where the handrail returns to the end, that talks about at the bottom of the top of the handrail, the end of that handrail can't just be open. In other words, you don't want to where a lady's purse strap will get caught, or loose clothing could get caught on it and cause someone to trip. Those ends have to turn and go back and touch the wall. So if you have a straight handrail, the very end of it's going to make a 90-degree turn and go back end at the wall. That's what that's telling you. All required handrails shall be continuous, the full length of the stairs, with 2 or more risers from a point directly above the top riser of the flight to the point directly above the lowest riser of the flights. In other words, if you have a set of stairs that goes up, it has to be a continuous handrail from top to bottom. If you have a staircase that goes up and makes a 180-degree turn, the handrail has to be continuous on that one side of the wall, continuous so people can go up and be safe. So handrails are something very important. All handrails shall be one or more of the following types or the equivalent grippable. And I will read this to you in a second. I mean, we're quoting you some code items here, but these are code items that are safety issues, red flags for you. I can tell you many, many times I've seen balconies from the outside staircase going up to a balcony, to a porch, to a deck. A lot of time people like to take a 2x4 and lay it on top so people can grab. Well, the problem with that is it doesn't meet the grippable size. You can't get a good grip. Most people with small hands cannot grip a 2x4 laying down flat. Some builders will take one and turn it up on this edge and nail it to the side where people can get a hold of it. The problem with that is you really can't get a full grip. You can hold on to it, but you can't get a grip. So this just tells you the type 1, the handrails with a circular cross section shall have an outside diameter of at least 11.4 inches. That's 32 millimeters, and not greater than 2 inches or 51 millimeters. If a handrail is not circular, it shall have a perimeter dimension of at least 4 inches and not greater than 6.25 inches, with a maximum gross section of dimension 2.25 inches. The edges shall have a minimum radius of 0.25 millimeters here. So it's just telling you the sizes of a handrail. basically, if you can't grip it, your clients probably won't be able to grip it. And that's something you probably want to make a note in your report on. Type 2 handrails, they get to be a little different. Perimeter greater than 6¼ inches shall have a finger recess area on both sides. In other words, as your hand grips it, you want to have something, your fingers, kind of a claw effect, if you would. Let that claw get in there, hold on to. So this is what this is telling you about. And it tells you the sizes of it and all on it that you'd have to get a hold of. Now, let's go into stairs. We're talking about handrails. Let's talk about stairs for just a little bit. And remember, you can go back and watch these videos as often as you like and compare notes to it. And this one, I'm going to refer to the International Residential Code, section R311.7.1, that talks about the width of the stairs. It says the stairways shall not be less than 36 inches in clear width at all points above the permitted handrail height and below the required headroom height. So you have a certain handrail height, what we talked about, then you have a certain required headroom height. And headroom means you don't want to bump your head as you walk up the stairs. But there's your code reference on it. Now, headroom, which is a headroom height required on the paragraph above, says a minimum headroom in all parts, not just some, but all parts of the stairway shall not be less than 6 feet 8 inches. Measured vertically from the sloped line adjoining the thread nosing or from the floor surface of the landing or platform on that portion of the stairway. And this is the International Residential Code section R311.7-2. Now, if you notice, those kind of go hand in hand with each other. Now, let me give you an example. A lot of older construction homes, you'll see staircases coming down from the second floor, and you'll have a section where the ceiling over the stairs come down, and then it makes a upward turn, kind of makes the bottom of the staircase height taller than the rest of it. Many times they put the return air chase in those sections, and in doing so, they furred that ceiling down further into the space of the stairs, making it where your head would actually bump those at the top of the wall, top of the ceiling where it turned for the return air chase. Basically, as you're walking up, no part of the stairway should be less than 6 foot 8 inches. So unless you're a real tall person, you should be able to walk in and not touch any part of that ceiling. The other important thing is that, so you don't get hurt or someone have a personal injury, the other part of that is they're carrying furniture up and down those stairs, mattresses, dressers, chest of drawers, whatever. Any type of bookcase, whatever, they want to have room to carry something like it up without causing damage to the property. So that's very easy to miss on an inspection, but it is something that's kind of a minimum standard that you should be able to see. And if it doesn't meet those requirements, you should write it up as, it doesn't meet current building codes and let people know. We don't expect people to go back and correct a home that's 50, 60, 70 years old to new codes. We don't expect that. But some of this stuff comes up as being safety issues and red flags for you as a home inspector that we need to at least make a note of in our reports. Okay, the landings for stairways. The codes again refer and say there shall be a floor or landing at the top of at the top and bottom of each stairway. So at the bottom and the top, there's got to be a landing for it. There should not be any doors that open over a stair step. In other words, if you got a set of stairs going upstairs and at the very top, there's not a landing, but you walk right onto the hallway floor or bedroom floor, whatever it is up there, and there's a door. Someone decides, hey, I'm going to put a door here to block off downstairs, upstairs. So they put a door there. Well, you don't want a door that opens and the first step you take, you're stepping on the staircase. Guess what happens? You take that first step, you miss it because the floor is uneven because the stairs step down, then you take a fall. You as a home inspector may be aware of things like that and be cautious that you don't fall down. But what about the innocent client that you're representing? What about visitors coming to their house and spending the night, getting up in the morning, going looking for their first cup of coffee? They open that door and take that first step, and it throws them off. They fall down the staircase. Not going to be a pleasant situation. I promise you, your phone's going to ring, and it may be from an attorney saying, check your mail. I just sent you a certified letter, demand letter, and you're being sued. We don't want that to happen to you. Sometimes you just report what you see, but you have to make sure you're able to see what you need to see and be able to write up what it is that could be a safety issue and a red flag. And I'm telling you guys and gals out there, stairs and landings is something you don't want to miss. It's very important. If you're walking up a set of stairs and each step seems to be at a different height, that's a problem. That can cause people to trip. And I've seen inspectors miss it time and time again. And I mean, it gets so obvious. My concern is I practice my own business. I stand at the bottom of the stairs before I go up them. I stand and look, and I try to analyze visually each step. Oh, do they look even? Do I see one that's the gap's a little bit bigger than the other one? Yeah. If I do, then I'm going to write that up, because if it's off, it's enough. I don't care if one step's off. It's still enough to cause someone to miss getting their settings, getting their steps and kind of setting a pace, if you will. If they get one that's off, it's enough to throw them off, and they probably are going to fall. So be cautious and be sure and put that down as a deficiency. Okay, thanks again for attending our webinar. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've been able to answer some questions, at least stir up some thoughts in your mind and make you stop and think, did I write that up on my last inspection or the previous one? If you didn't, then good for you. This is something that gets your attention, make you a better inspector in the long run. And I hope you've enjoyed this one. And we'll go in and have the next session here for you ready. So be sure you watch all of them. Again, my name is Paul Roebuck. If you have any questions, if you have a topic that you'd like for us to speak on, send me an email. That's paul@internachi.org, and we'll try our best to help you the best we can to answer your questions. I'm always here to answer your questions and help you any way I can. All right, thanks again for watching. See you next time.